This is Barrister Maria Abanga, right? This is Maria Abanga. I'm the founder of the association Hope for the Abused and the Battered. I'm a minister of the gospel. I am what so many things in one, and it's been a while. I did a live video on something as specific as information sharing for legal and other purposes, right? And since all I do are kind of wrapped up around my purpose, which is to inspire, motivate, and encourage people from all walks of life with my personal experiences, and since this association Hope for the Abused and the Battered, it's equally to be the hope, for people who are abused and battered, or people who just don't know some stuffs, and I happen to know them for several reasons, and so I share, right? So I want to share this information about birth certificates, because I had an experience this morning, and I'm a mom of 3, right? So I've made birth certificates for my children, and this morning was different because I was helping to have the birth certificate of a child established whose parents are not married. Marriage is when you sign before the civil status registrar. Marriage is not when you have it blessed in church. Which is, first of all, you cannot bless a marriage in church if you don't have a marriage certificate. If you do that, that's against the law. So that's not marriage. And traditionals, if you can call it marriage, is not recognized before the law as marriage. You need that marriage certificate to prove that you are married. So those are just different ceremonies we do, but what actually makes you people married before the law is the marriage certificate. So if you don't have a marriage certificate, knock door, blessing, all of that, it's not considered as marriage before the law. It can be considered as marriage in the village, marriage in the church, but it's not marriage before the law. And what matters before the law is the marriage certificate. In the same light, what matters before the law as far as children are concerned, you start with the birth certificate. Without a birth certificate, you will technically not be able to register your child in school, and above all, that child will not be able to sit for any official examination because they don't have a birth certificate. And of course, when they grow up without a birth certificate, they cannot do an ID card. And now in Cameroon, you cannot even travel from one city to the other without an ID card or an identification document. Okay. And so what happened this morning made me think about it, and it was put in my spirit, do a video talking about sharing some information about establishing birth certificates for your children. So I just have 5 points here. It's not going to be a long video. You would want to share this with people who might need this information. Sometimes people think they know it all and they don't. Even the Bible says it, my people perish for a lack of knowledge. So it's always a good thing to have information, and when you have it, share it, and stuff like that. So it's very important, as I said in the beginning, to establish birth certificates for our children. That's the only way the state or the law knows that those children exist. Without a birth certificate, you cannot, as I said, do nothing. You cannot have a passport, for example. There are countries where, in ours, it's not just automatic, but in some countries, as soon as a baby is born, you have every right to apply for the passport, and it comes. So I don't even know if they apply or it just comes along with every other document or stuff like that. But yeah, it's not just like that and stuff like that. In some years back, you used to actually put your baby's picture, your child's picture on your passport. But I think today, as from a certain age, I don't really know how old, but I think that I made my son's own when he was still in primary school. So yeah, maybe from any age you could have a child's passport issue, but you need the birth certificate to prove that is a child and that you are the parent of that child. Okay, so the first thing I would like to share is that It's best to have it established before the child turns 3 months old, because the law says that from 0 to 3 months is free. That's what the civil status ordinance says. But in practice, what I saw happen today was that we had to disburse some money, and I did 4,000 francs CFA. I keep it real, and I have evidence that that money was paid, even if no receipt was established. So yeah, you need to be careful. Maybe it's because they went to a, what they call in French, centre d'état civil secondaire, a secondary civil status registration center. So they didn't go to the council, they went to a civil status registration center around where they live. For people who don't live close to a council, that is actually a provision of the law. They might go to a secondary civil status registration center, and these people will collect the information needed in the registry and then take it to the council, and then the birth certificate to be established at the council, and they'll bring it back to the center and you go and collect it. It baffled me today that that whole procedure will take about 2.5 months, because they have to go pick it up on the 2nd of August. Today is the 11th of May. So 11th of May, 11th of June, 11th of July. So close to 3 months, 9 days shy of 3 months for a birth certificate. Can you imagine that? The lady was so arrogant, and I couldn't say anything. I'm not a parent of the child. So, but what I know is that when I made birth certificates for my children, it didn't take me 2 weeks or 1 month maximum even. I just went myself to the council with the marriage certificate, and I went alone. I didn't even go with the child's father, but that was because we were married, right? But when you are not married, anyway, after the child is above 3 months, it's no longer free. A court declaration will be needed, unless you want to go and do a fraudulent birth certificate or backdate, reduce the child's age, stuff like that. So it's best to just have your baby leave the hospital, go to the council and go and register this child. Don't take the child home and go and sit there and just start basking in the glory of, oh, my baby, my child, people are coming, wow, 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 and then before you know it, 3 months has passed. You go to the civil status center, the council, they will make it difficult for you. Oh, they will tell you, no, voilà, porter la déclaration, jugement de naissance, you have to go to court, and you spend all of that money and time. So it's best to do this, the earlier the better. For a child born out of wedlock, either there is no father, like you don't put, there's no father's name, so the mother just goes with the child, and there's no father, so they'll leave the place of father empty, or the father has to expressly recognize the child in the presence of 2 witnesses. So the father expressly recognizes by saying, I am the father of this child, and they will write it behind the birth certificate, and the father is going to sign, and there has to be 2 witnesses who are going to put their thumbprints in the register, and that's what I did today, right? There were 2 witnesses there. So I don't know what to say about can we stay, but if you are serious about getting together and having children, just go get married, so that you don't need to put the children through this or go through this. But I cannot give advice on those kind of things, right? So please, to each their own. Okay, I'm just sharing information. The 4th thing is best to insist on getting the declaration of birth from the hospital as you leave after the child is born. Don't be so excited and just leave, because if you just leave, when you go back to get that declaration, they will deal with you. Or even if you don't leave and you are naive, they will tell you that, oh no, we'll send it to the civil status registration center. What if you wanted to go to the council yourself to have the birth certificate established? Civil status registration centers, I just said now, they will take money from you. So some civil status registration centers, they just arrange with hospitals. Any child who is born here, just send the birth certificate to us. After all, we will say that we are the closest to where the child was born. But what if I'm living in Bonamusadi and for some reason I had my child in Bonaberry because it was closest to where my mom was, and I wanted to have my baby around my mom, but I want to establish a child birth certificate in Bonamusadi where I live. Yet as soon as I have my baby in Bonaberry, you take the declaration of birth and send it to the civil status registration center near the hospital. So I will have to go through all of that headache, and then I must come back there to come and collect the birth certificate. Whereas I live in Bonamusadi, I have every right to establish that birth certificate even in my village. If I have the baby in the village, I can decide to establish a birth certificate in the village, or I come to Douala with a declaration of birth and establish it in Douala where I live. So it's important that they give you that declaration of birth. But in this case, so the baby, the father didn't know, so they sent the declaration of birth to the civil status registration center, and they told him in the hospital they have sent it there. So he went there, and they told him documents to bring, and then he went and brought the document. They told him no, he has to bring 4,000 francs. And they said to them, well, so what are you going to do? You cannot ask them, they will not give it to you. And since you want to establish your child's birth certificate, you just have to give them that money. But if you had the declaration of birth yourself, you will not even have gone there. You will have just gone to the council directly. Although maybe because the parents are not married, they were still going to have to bring 2 witnesses. I don't know if they were going to ask them for anything. But you know, a birth certificate of a child between less than 3 months old is free. That's why you see on birth certificate of the original birth certificate, you will not see no stamp there, no nothing, because that is original. It is free, or it is supposed to be free. I didn't pay nothing for none of my children's birth certificates. I just went to the council and I just sat there and they just filled everything and then told me when to come back, and I came back and I took those birth certificates. Taxes are paid for all of those kind of services. I found it so baffling and even annoying that people who don't have money, they have the other children don't even have birth certificates. Now they have to be, you know, paying money to get a birth certificate for a child who is not even, I don't even think that child is already a month old. Anyway, so number 5, the mother is always needed at the council or at the civil status registration center, and when married, the marriage certificate must be produced. So mother, if you are married and you give birth and maybe the father is not around, or well, that's your business, right? So you take care of that. Yeah, and then you're the one who gave birth, so that baby came from your womb, and of course your name will be on the declaration of birth, you know. So do how you are needed. The father mustn't be there, even if you are married. You know, it will be nice if you both go there, but if not, carry your child and be going alone to have their birth certificate issued. Even if it's in the village, I wonder, there's so many children who don't have birth certificate in the village who I'm working on a project to help with these children. Even here in this city, I was just saying that baby married siblings don't have birth certificates. I'm like, well, can you just give birth to a child and just let the child, there's many schools, especially private schools, you can just go and register the child and the child is just going to school. Even in public schools, especially in villages, and they don't ask for birth certificate, no copy of birth certificate, nothing. And then when the child gets to examination class, or if something happens, you don't even know which child and all of those kind of things. I think it's because they don't really have this information, you know. If not, why would you have a child, give birth to a child and then just go and stay at home, and then, well, you are just growing? How is that child going to cope in life tomorrow without a birth certificate? How can they have an ID card? Not to talk of a passport. How can they even live from, today in Cameroon, you cannot even live from Douala to Yaoundé without ID card. If not, you're going to be pulled down. I've traveled with people have been brought down, no ID card, not to talk of going to the Anglophone regions of Cameroon without an ID card. So the best thing to do is to act fast. Act fast means that as soon as you have that baby, when you go home, you have between 0 to 3 months. So after 2 weeks, for example, go carry your baby, go to the council, because you can go to the hospital for the baby's vaccine, or you can go somewhere. So go also to the council, go to the civil status registration center, go and register your baby. Have that baby's birth certificate. I know that some people might even be in positions where the man can just go. I mean, it's a man of influence, so they don't need to bring the baby there. They don't need to see the baby. Yeah, maybe just take a picture. I don't know, but I know that in this country a lot of things are possible. So the best thing to do is do it fast. Don't wait until that baby is after 3 months or 6 months, 1 year, and then you have to either start doing some shady things, or you are reducing the child's age and all of those kind of things. And then seek advice when you are not so sure. Should I put the father's name? Should I not put the father's name? Why? Don't do it out of selfish or out of vengeance. You don't put the father's name. Whereas, well, maybe the father is somebody who can, I don't know, has a name that maybe matters, stuff like that. So you might want to put, if the father recognizes the child, don't refuse, deny the father from recognizing the child just because you are angry at the father. Maybe the child would love to know who their father is, and well, if the father wants to recognize and wants to be present and all of those things, I don't know. So seek advice, that's all I'm saying. And of course, always think of the interest of the child, which is in a nutshell what I've also been saying. Think of the interest of the child. Is he a father who can, take care of that child, pay school fees, do all of that? I know a lady, a client of mine, who was insisting on keeping the child, and yet they could not make ends meet, and they kept wanting the child's father to take care of the child financially. The child's father said, give me the child. And they're like, no, I'm not giving you the child. Okay, you don't want to give me the child, then don't bother me. It is difficult. Conflict of interest. Well, what do? You're not even married. Okay, you want to go to social service, go to social service. Now, I've been to social service myself. What will social service do? They don't have no enforcing power. So they're only going to convoke the man, talk to him and say, well, if you don't respect your engagement, we will report you to the law and the procedure. We all know this country and everything. So you want to go and spend your small money fighting a social service to open the 5,000 and this, and come tomorrow, come after tomorrow, come yesterday, all of that. I don't know. Okay, well, so that's what I wanted to share, and I wish and I hope and I pray that this brief video is going to help somebody really think about it. Please stop keeping children at home without having their birth certificates established. What kind of a future? What is the hope? Did that child ask you to go conceive and do whatever you did? Now there's a child, now you keep that child there without a birth certificate. The child is ignorant, the child is innocent, the child doesn't know, the child just goes around playing. Sometimes you don't even send the child to school, or the child is going to school, the child doesn't know what birth certificate means and everything. And then one day they say, bring your birth certificate. They come and say, mama, they said in school should bring our birth certificate. Where's my birth certificate? You start scratching your head, the child doesn't have a birth certificate. Maybe you now have to go and do a fake one. Back in those days, those fake birth certificates used to cost 10,000 francs. So that's money. Whereas to do a regular one from 0 to 3 months is free, or maybe 2, 3, 4,000. And after 3 months, you go to court, you do a court declaration with 10,000. So the best thing to do is do it as soon as the child is born. Okay, well, I wish everybody all the best, especially parents of newborn babies, or even those who are pregnant. Think about it. Don't just be preparing to have the child, but also prepare to have the child registered as soon as the child is born. Okay, well, God bless us all.